Hey guys, Silverlord here, back in with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series Clone Wars. I assume it's Clone Wars. Clone Commander Bacara, brought to us by the fine folks over at Hasbro. And truth be told, I had no idea this guy existed up until a month ago, as of the time this video is being posted. 2 weeks ago, as the time it's being recorded, because, well, I do stuff in advance here at Overlord Productions. You guys know that by now, but if you're new, well, now you know. And no one's half the battle. Wrong toy line. But at any rate, I had no idea this guy existed up until July of this year. So when I found out he existed, I did the most sensible thing and added him to my cart on Big Bad Toy Store immediately and checked out. So there you go. That said, I am very much familiar with Commander Bacara because there was a gentleman here on the YouTubes who went by the username Commander Bacara something 1980 something, 1990 something. Either way, he used to do a lot of, I think it was Halo Mega Bloks videos back in the day. I assume he does a lot of Star Wars stuff outside of that, so hence the name. But yeah, shout out to him. He was one of my earlier compadres, at least I think he was, here on the YouTubes. So this figure brings back fond memories of our conversations together. But before I get too far ahead of myself, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all Commander Bacara has to offer in terms of accessories, because there ain't much. You get two guns. You get the rifle, and you get the standard Clone Trooper blaster. No pistols for this guy. But does he really need them? I don't think so. Not every Clone Trooper needs pistols. Besides, as long as Captain Rex has his two sidearms, I think we good. So taking a closer look at Bacara here. He does have the little skirt that clones have. I will say, clones with the skirts, they don't always have the same cut skirt. Sometimes it's a drape like this. Sometimes it's just side skirts. In fact, this one actually feels like a triple, or like a suit coat, where it's got the split in the middle. So that's different. I don't think I have anyone else like this. He also has the updated clone upper body and limbs. For example, his arms have the butterfly joints, the beautiful butterflies, as well as a bicep and elbow twist. Just very hindered by this elbow pad here. I'm not sure if the bicep twist is new or if it's always had that, but yeah, this is definitely, I don't know what I was saying earlier, this is the entire new clone body. So as far as articulation goes, his head can look up about this far. Not the greatest. He can also look down a little bit. He can rotate side to side. He can tilt a little bit. I feel like his helmet is a slightly different shape than some clone troopers, but that could just be me. Shoulders will pop up to the side about this far. He does have the rubbery shoulder pads that will move out of the way. He does have beautiful butterflies, as I mentioned before. Rotation, bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, but be mindful of these little straps on the elbow pads here. You don't want to snap them suckers, or like tear them, trying to bend the elbow. I've seen people do that before. This is as far as I'm willing to push this. It's not stretching it, it's not tearing it, but I don't dare to move it anymore. Like, there you go. That's it. That's all you're going to get from me. He can bend at like a 90-degree angle. I'm pretty sure the double-jointed ones could bend a little bit more. I'm sure these could bend more, but unless you're willing to risk snapping this strap here, I would advise against it. Is this a separate piece? Has to be. It is. Alright. But you do get your rotation down there as well. That's pretty hindered. There we go. And yeah, you got to be mindful of that rotation with that too, because you know, I appreciate them wanting to do the more accurate sculpt, but just make this a solid piece, or like connected to the arm, or just make the bicep soft or something. So I can bend the arm, dadgummit. Like, what the crap? That said, his wrist does have the appropriate hinge for holding weapons on this side with the rotation, while this side has the in and out hinge, which is not accurate for holding weapons, but it's there, so whatever. Diaphragm joint is a diaphragm joint. It does what it needs to do. You can lean. Be mindful of his belts and things, but it does seem to lean inside of those straps, so you shouldn't have to worry about those quite as much. Yeah, his belt will actually hike up when you do that, so that's a plus. Thighs do have rotation. His hips will kick forward, they'll kick out. He does have swivel hinge knees that will rotate. And then the knee pads can actually shift down onto the knees themselves. I don't recall that being a thing before. The only clones I have with this body are the Halloween Clone Trooper and the Camino Clone Trooper, and I do not recall that being a thing. I kind of wish that was a thing on the elbows. It's kind of nice to have that option to just kind of bend the knee and not have to worry about this strap on the back of the leg tearing, because you can just shift it into place. So that's kind of nice. But as far as the rest of his leg goes, he does have a hinge in the foot with a rocker, and that's all you get for that. So, Commander Bacara is pretty cool. I'm not a fan of the arms on this new clone body. It just never was my thing. But I do get if people like it, if it's more accurate to how the suit is supposed to be designed. I'm going to put his blaster in his hand, but I'm not going to try and get him into a two-handed pose on camera. I don't trust the commander here or myself to do that in a timely manner, so I'm just going to leave it at his side, and when we switch to the next segment, he'll be holding it with two hands. Magically, of course. I will have nothing to do with that. It's just he's going to come to life like Toy Story and do it on his own. But as far as Commander Bacara is concerned, I think he's pretty cool. So, with that being said, if I can center his butt here. That's a little better. It's time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Commander Bacara alongside his main man, the main man himself, Mace Windu. This is from the Clone Wars miniseries, not the Clone Wars CG series. I do believe there is a Mace Windu out that does look like the Clone Wars CG series, but I think it's some kind of weird exclusive, and I can't seem to place where it's available. So I guess keep your eyes out for that, if that's really what you're looking for. But I'm okay with this one for now. That said, we have a Clone Trooper on the very old, I wouldn't say quite so outdated, unless you don't like pins, but old Clone Trooper body. We have Clone Commander Cody. And Clone Commander Cody here, be mindful of the dust, is a little bit easier to get into a two-handed gun pose, gun-holding pose, unlike Commander Bacara here, because he doesn't have those straps that I fear breaking on his inner elbows there. I could just bend his arm and it works. Granted, I think we've come a little bit of a ways since this Commander Cody figure. If I'm not mistaken, this was the first clone commander / named clone trooper Hasbro ever did. I think we might have had a phase 2 one by the time this guy came out, but before that there wasn't much, if anything. So getting these two out of the way. Sometimes I forget how small these figures are. So we can bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibilith. The sword is always getting caught in his staff. I don't know why that is, and I know how weird that statement must have sounded, but sue me. But there's Brother Mandibilith, as well as the infamous K11 Spawn, who, as usual, towers over everyone because he is not a 6-inch scale figure, like Star Wars Black Series here, which is exactly 1/12 and or 6-inch scale, not 6 3/4 like Marvel Legends. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and I have to be honest in saying that good old Commander Bacara here is a bit of a mixed bag for me. I think the fine folks over at Hasbro are onto something by making the knee pads floaty pieces, and I kind of hope that they do the same for the elbow pads moving forward. I think that's the best route to take when having really deep bends in joints that are meant to be covered up by pieces of armor. I think that's the best way to do it. You know, NECA, when they do the TMNT figures, they usually have the elbow pad strap going in between a double joint so it's not affected. When they did Clone Troopers before in this line, it was part of a double joint, and I think it was just literally part of the elbow. So again, not affected. But now that they're making them separate pieces, I think the best thing to do is to leave them unglued, or if you can, unglue them yourself and just have them as floating pieces that you can adjust so you can bend the arms accordingly. Other than that, I really like this figure. I love all my Clone Commander figures. I'm a little bummed that I missed out on Clone Commander Jesse way back when, because he was a stupid Walmart exclusive, but we won't talk about that. But I am happy to have Commander Bacara here, and hope that moving forward, fine folks over at Hasbro make more Clone Troopers, named Clone Troopers to be exact. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, catch you guys later.